Holidays are great. They're just like regular days, but better because you can spend them in your pants. Today, we're going on a holiday that asks the question, who or what is Shavuot? And the answer is who. Despite its importance in the Jewish calendar, Shavuot is often overlooked because, like many Jews, it's small and hard to spot in a crowd. But Shavuot is actually one of Judaism's 3 main festivals, along with Coachella and the VMAs. Shavuot is a Hebrew word that means Shavuot, and Hebrew means a small group of men that make beer. It's a holiday that commemorates when Moses went up Mount Sinai to meet God, because that's where the best Wi-Fi signal was. While he was up there, he was able to download the Torah, which is like a How to Live Life for Dummies guide, but in Jewish and backwards. There aren't any pictures of the event because unfortunately it happened before photographs were invented, and also because the ancient Israelites had just escaped from slavery, so even if they did have phones, the cameras would probably be rubbish. The Jewish people spent 40 years walking through the deserts of Sinai, but we didn't have the budget to go there apparently, which is why I'm at a local beach volleyball court. The Jews were wandering through the desert for an awfully long time, based on directions they got from a bush that was on fire. Nobody questioned this though, because Moses had a full and luscious beard that inspired confidence. Well, that and a massive stick. Being in the desert is a lot like being at the beach, except there's less water and ice cream. If you wanted those things, you'd be better off going to a place that sells dessert, which looks like desert, but isn't. After 7 weeks of intense tanning, the Jewish people gathered at Mount Sinai, which is a mountain and not the hospital. It was surrounded by thunder and lightning, which would have been pretty terrifying, leaving most of them looking like this. It was here that God gave them 2 large tablets, probably because all that thunder was giving them a headache. The Jews were given the 10 Commandments, which are a big list of laws that defined monotheism, cultivated civility, and warned against the dangers of using bears as false witnesses. The 10 Commandments contain instructions, some of which are hard to keep, like don't murder, even when stuck in traffic, and others which are easier to keep, such as don't covet thy neighbour's ox, which I haven't, even though I've seen the way it looks at me. Every year, Jews celebrate Shavuot to renew their acceptance of the Torah. They do this primarily by drinking wine and eating loads. As with other major Jewish holidays, work is prohibited on this day, mainly to annoy non-Jewish employers. Usually, Jews would eat deli sandwiches or something marinated in hummus, but on this occasion, to celebrate the cornerstone of Jewish identity, traditionally dairy products are served, which is a bold and exciting choice because it gives 63% of Jews explosive diarrhea. Every single year, on the day of Save Our Foot, the 10 Commandments are read out loud, because 10 is a big number and a lot to remember. In fact, some families try to work out a system where they each remember just one, but this quickly falls apart when one of them moves out or dies. So after all these years, why is Shavuot just so important to the Jewish people? Well, to find out, I spoke to a bloke who is paid to tell us why Jewish things are so important. Who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah.
Daniel Rowe. I'm Chief Executive of ACE UK. Studied a bit of rabbinic stuff here and there, a bit of philosophy here and there.
Who is Shavuot?
Who is... I think Shavuot's more what is Shavuot than a who, unless you're touching something very deep here, beyond my pay grade.
Do you think it's weird that God wrote a book about himself?
Well, actually, the Torah is not even a book about God. It's a book about man. It begins with, it zooms almost straight from creation of a cosmos into man, and the struggle of man to find God, the struggle of man to find man's self. And in fact, you know, a lot of faiths, they see the world to come as the ultimate. The world to come means life after death. In Judaism, we see the world to come as the ultimate, but the world to come is this world when it achieves perfection. It's when mankind achieves perfection. So God wrote a book about man, not about God.
Why is kosher food so expensive?
Well, partly because the amount of supervision needed along the way means you're employing vastly more people. The method of slaughter also has to be done individual animal by animal rather than industrial scale, mass drowning, let's say, that takes place, let's say, chickens in the mass market. So, and there's also a lot more particularity about which animals, even after slaughter, can be eaten. Yes, it definitely adds to the budget of an observant family, but then sacrificing for a bit of Judaism has been something Jews do pretty well over history. And if all it means a little bit of extra pennies or pounds, that's something, not to belittle it. And if we can find ways to make it cheaper, that's great. But you know, that's a small sacrifice. Jews throughout history have often sacrificed a lot more.
If you were to ask the average person what the most important holiday in the Jewish calendar was, they'd probably say Yom Kippur or Black Friday. But consider this: if there was no Shavuot, there'd be no Torah. And if there was no Torah, then going to synagogue would just be a bunch of Jewish people sat in a room talking about finance. Next time on Great Moments in Jewish, I'll be asking, what did Jews dip in honey before Sir Isaac Newton invented the apple?
To stay up to date with the latest JTV content, if you're on YouTube, click subscribe below the video and the alarm bell. And if you're on Facebook, click the like button, and under following, click see first.